Hello, good afternoon. How's everybody doing today? Hope you're having a good Sunday. It's a beautiful fall day today in Kansas City. It is clear, sunny, um, and not too warm. About 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and use the internet to convert that to Celsius if you're a Celsius person. But we had left last time some bugs. Essentially, I think the root of the problem was that I was trying to take too many shortcuts in serializing the Bloom filter. Thought, well, just the bit vector is probably sufficient, but it's becoming clear that it's not. And that's okay. I wanted to avoid bringing in too many dependencies into this project. As it stands, we currently have 4. And, we could probably ditch one of them, honestly, if we wanted to, because it's just macros. But I think this is going to be kind of unavoidable. The Bloom filter implementation that we chose implements, if you turn on the feature, it implements Serday traits. So I think that will probably be the easiest way to solve this problem, and probably won't take that long. But the downside of using Serday is that now you have to adopt a bunch of things that are kind of heavyweight. And I'm not going to lie, Serday is an amazing crate. I use it all the time in my other projects. But it does have a cost, and if this is the only thing we use Serday for, it feels bad, right? Now maybe there's a possibility that we could come up with another format that that uses Serday to serialize RB tree, for example. But I kind of doubt that's going to happen. And I feel like I would rather have something that's just serialization, deserialization of a specific format, and not a generic framework to which we add a format, if you catch my drift. So that said, I think we're going to have to adopt it to move forward. And if we have problems with it, we can rip it out later. So I think that's the direction I want to go. I would much rather use something that is like kind of built for the sort of work that we're doing with binary formats on disk. But we need to move forward. The other sorts of data structures that kind of fill the space that this fast bloom crate is giving us don't have friendly serialization formats. So I think our trade-off here is try to hack it, do some unsafe code perhaps, or we go forward and use Serday as it was intended, and we just pick a format. So that's kind of where I am. And I'll flip over here and we can look at if you're not familiar with Serday, it is the gold standard thing that you use to decode and encode data at rest. So think any sort of like textual format like JSON or YAML or TOML or whatever, as well as binary formats like a message pack or protocol buffers, which I actually don't think that has a Serday implementation. But what's good at flat buffers, is an analogous thing there. And it lets you decouple the things that you want to encode from the format, which is nice from the perspective of a library author who wants their data structures to be able to be encoded, but doesn't want to specify the format with which they're encoded. That's really good. And I do appreciate that the folks who wrote FastBloom did that for us. They said, here, if you turn on this feature flag, which we're going to in a minute, then we will support Saturday. And then you can encode it in whatever format you want. But then again, the actual encoding is a separate crate that you have to pull in. So if you do not, if you're interested in Rust and you don't know about John's YouTube channel, this particular video is amazing, talking about Saturday. I'm not going to be able to cover it in this stream, but do go watch it. The rest of his crust of Rust or decrusting videos are incredible. So if you have a baseline understanding of what you're doing in Rust, but you want to go deeper, his stuff is great, and I highly recommend it. He's an excellent teacher of these concepts, as well as mostly he just really understands them deeply, way deeper than I ever would. So he's like the perfect person to talk about this stuff. And he even goes to the point of like creating prototypes of what the baseline of the thing that he's trying to explain are, and it's pretty incredible. So he'll talk about one of my favorites is about smart pointers, which is a concept that even now I feel shaky on, even though I've used them a bunch, right? But he really goes into depth on that, and it's fantastic. But anyway, he has this video about Saturday, and I highly recommend. I'll go ahead and copy that link and paste it in the chat. If OBS will let me paste. There we go. So do try to watch that if you have interest in this topic. So okay, so there's a lot of stuff in here about Saturday's design. What I'm most concerned about is the data formats, and we want our requirements here are this needs to be binary, and it needs to be fairly compact. So we have some options here. We could do postcard, which I have pulled open, is a pretty nice format designed for embedded systems. So it's going to be space efficient, and it's going to be memory efficient, which is good. And CBOR is a very, very old format, but highly compatible across lots of different platforms. We could consider that. Message pack is more like more highly compressed JSON. And I don't think, because we know the structure of this ahead of time and we're not trying to use it outside of a context that is not the original code, I think message pack is a bad choice there. We don't need to be human readable. In fact, this data is not human readable. So we can avoid things like TOML and RON. BSON, we're not talking to MongoDB. Avro, schema definition, but we're not intending to put it into Hadoop or into a Parquet table or something. So Avro's a bad choice. And this goes on. I mean, we could do Bencode or Flux buffers. I honestly think I would like to try Postcard for this one, or CBOR. So let's open CBOR. Yeah, so CBOR serialization and deserialization implementations for Saturday. Okay, so their thing is, this crate will always serialize numeric values to the smallest size, which is interesting. There's a performance cost for that. Of course, it's lossless. The flip side is Postcard does a similar thing. It uses variants. So all integers larger than 8 bits are coded using variant, which is the same encoding. Hello, Sammy. Welcome to the stream. Variant is the same encoding that protocol buffers uses for numbers. There is a cost to encoding and decoding that. Okay, so let's see what else is going on with CBOR. Okay, map is a sequence of values. That doesn't apply to us. Packed encoding uses numerical officer. Be avoided because it can be fragile as exposes invariance of your Rust code to remote actors. Okay, this is not so much of a concern to me because we're not using CBOR to send data over the network. It's going to be running on a local machine talking to a disk. So that's not so much of a concern. I think even with this potential cost of doing variants, even though we know the size of our bit vectors, I think that this might be okay. Hi, Sammy. I do not stream on Twitch. I used to stream on Twitch and then upload my videos to YouTube. But I found that people coming for programming content mostly come to YouTube more than they do to Twitch. And there were quirkinesses about Twitch and extra work. So here, I don't have to do any extra work to make a recording and upload it to YouTube after. Twitch keeps your VODs around for only 7 days, which was not long enough for me since I only stream once a week. So having the archive on YouTube was always good. And now it's like, well, I don't have to do any extra work. So I am only on YouTube nowadays. And that happened a few months ago. Okay, so let's do, I think Postcard is worth looking at. Postcard to that. Okay, so we could, yeah, this is a nice API. So we can, we know that the Bloom filter that we have pulled in implements serialize and deserialize. We can use Postcard 2vec and from bytes. And I think that'll settle it. And then we'll have round trip. There are parts of that Bloom filter struct that we were not encoding last time. And those are the really important parts, I think. The parts we were missing, specifically like the hasher. If the hasher is not the same, like it doesn't come from the same seed or doesn't have the same internal state when you load it up, it's not going to produce the same results. So that's how we were getting that test failure. So let's have a look at the code. And then we will, here are our dependencies from last time. We have fast bloom, and now we're going to have to let's just run the tests real quick, because I think that was the bit that was showing us showing us that we had a problem. Yeah, so those things were failing because we added the bit that checks the Bloom filter. Right, and it couldn't find the key. It expected to find this, and it didn't find anything. And merges were incorrect as well because they were using get entry on a tree that the Bloom filter says it's not there. So okay, so we are going to cargo add Saturday and Postcard. Okay, now let's look at the features. Note, when you do cargo add, it adds to your TOML, but it also will print out the features that it uses. So by default. So Postcard, we should look at what those features are because we're probably going to be in a standard context, but maybe eventually we will want to use a non-standard, like have a no standard. The challenge is we're using file system APIs, and those are all in the standard crate, in the Rust standard library. So now we need to add the features Saturday. Oops. So that we get, yeah. You can restart. Okay, apparently I need to restart Z, so let's do that. Okay. So let's do cargo build. Does not have that feature. So I need to look at what that feature name actually is. Feature is Saturday. Is that, how recent is that? Maybe we have an old version. Blame. Five months ago. Okay. So is that released? Interesting. Okay. There are no tags on this, so honestly we just have to look at, yeah, this is probably the most recent published one. We are going to need, yeah, we're going to need to probably get a GitHub version of this. Let's quickly look over there and see what the docs think this this code is. Let's see, source. Because if this does not include, yeah, so the published version on crates.io does not include the Saturday bits. So that's what, if it wasn't obvious, looking at Rust gives me anxiety. It's okay. You'll get used to it. Okay, so this is what it's saying. It's saying this does not have a this does not have this feature, and it's because the version that we pulled in doesn't have it. So we need to do overrides. Let's see. I need to remember how to do that. So we're going to look up cargo manifest. There we go. I always have a link for that. Okay. Let's see. There's a overrides.crates.io thing that you can put in here. Right, so we can do this. Yeah, why don't we do this? We will switch it to a particular commit. So let's pick that. Right? Okay, so instead of this, we're going to do git, and I need to refresh my, yeah, so something like that. And it's TomTom Wombat. TomTom Wombat fast bloom.git. And then we need to give it a, yeah, revision. Let's do revision for now. And that'll be the revision. And then we get cargo fetch. And now it's building because we've satisfied. Now we have the problem of we eventually need to unpin this. But as long as this crate has not released something in a while, I mean, we can look at the commits and see if they have anything that says release. Yeah, they're not really marking their releases in the commit history, so that's unfortunate. Okay. So now that we have Saturday and postcard, we have a lot of, shall we say, hacky code to delete. So let's go in the writer. And I think that, let's go up top. Okay, so we were always creating a bloom filter with the expected number of items. I mean, I don't think that that needs to change, but there were bits. Okay, yeah, I think it was in the trailer. Let's go to definition there. Okay, so this is what we need to change. This is fine. So if it's too big, we throw it out, right? We return an error. If it's empty, we know it's an empty bloom filter, so we just create a default bloom filter. This is not correct anymore, because what we were trying to do was reverse engineer the sizing of the structure. And what we actually need to do is we're going to say postcard from bytes. And we're going to say this is bloom filter. All right, and this takes a slice. Okay, so this should return like a result, right? So what I want to do now is give it an error. I don't think that we're using this anymore, so we can get rid of that. Or maybe we just say, when we say corrupted, bloom filter did not deserialize. Okay. So what we'll do here is we'll say map error. And maybe we want, this is, let's do from postcard error. Let's do that. And then we don't have to use map error. Oops. So we can do that. That's substantially simpler, in case you hadn't noticed. And it means we can toss this, because we don't need to fake it anymore, right? Okay. That's good. Let's save that. Okay, so now when we do the encode, we need to do the reverse, right? So rather than this, what we need to do is we need to say self.bloom. Postcard, 2 bytes. 2vec? Yeah, 2vec. And we pass self.bloom. Now we're going to borrow it. This function returns a result. So we have a choice here. And I think the answer is we turn this into result. And we do question mark here. Because what's this? Heapless vec. Actually, so I think that we need to look at the postcard stuff here and see. So I don't want to use a heapless vec here. So we can turn off that feature. Fake it till you make it. That's right. Well, you know, with Rust, I did too. I made a lot of mistakes when I was early on writing it. I still make mistakes. That's why I have this stream. Share my mistakes with others. Okay. So yeah, I think we need to turn off that feature, that cargo feature, on postcard. So let's see here. Let's look at what the features are. Oh, source? Why did they do this? Okay. Okay, so yeah, I think we want this, and we want to get rid of this. Why am I saying that? Okay, so it's obvious that this turns on the heapless crate. So this is an optional dependency, right? And we don't want to use that. I don't know what that heapless CAS is. That's got to be a feature of that crate. Okay, so what we're going to do is have the use standard crate feature, and we're going to disable default features. So that looks like this. Version is that. Default features false. Features, and I wish it would give me actually what they are. Use standard. Okay. So now we still got some problems. What's the issue here? Okay, so now there's no 2vec method or function in postcard. So let's look at their docs. Okay, so we could use 2alloc_vec, right? Oh, this is good from Sammy. I'm learning Rust now, and I'm realizing how much I took being young for granted. Switching between languages was much easier when I was in high school. Yeah, yeah, but you probably didn't go as deep. I know I didn't. It looks like magic to me when you write. Well, I get a lot of help. I will be honest. I get a lot of help from Rust Analyzer. Some of it is just I've done this stuff for several years now, and so I understand what to look for. But also the editor, language server helps me a lot. See, my first project is a memory profile, and I have no idea where to start, but we'll see where it ends up. Well, that's very ambitious. I look forward to drop me a link next time. I would love to see your code. Okay. Let's see. So from bytes is there it? So I think it's just two alloc_vec, which this is alloc_vec is aliased in the standard library. So standard vec is the same thing as alloc_vec. So it's probably this that we want. We don't need a CRC32 on it. To standard vec. Okay, that's what we want. So I guess this is an option for if you have no standard, but you do include the alloc crate, because remember almost all of the standard library of Rust is optional. You have to do some incantations on your code to tell it not to use certain things, but we're not in that business right now. So we'll use to standard vec. That's my answer. Okay. Okay. So what's going on here? And we need to return okay. So this is going to break a bunch of our code, but there's probably only one place. Right. So we just need to do a question mark there, and then that solves it. So what this is doing here at the close the writer is it's creating the trailer, and it's telling the trailer to encode itself and write all of it. But if the trailer can't encode because there's some problem with encoding the Bloom filter, then that needs to return a result. And we also, we already have this. And let's do for 0. Okay. Honestly, I think this is going to fix our problems. So let's run cargo test and see what we get. So now an empty file fails, which I think we should have expected. And again, this is similar, that we expected a shorter length of the file, and we got something longer because we're serializing an empty Bloom filter. And I think that that's okay. We just need to change the assumptions in that test. So let's go to that. Where are we? In tests, that is empty file. Right, and this is wrong. So we need to change this assumption, because we can't, this is assuming the code that we used last time, which is we're just going to take the bit vector out of the Bloom filter and stuff it into the file. That's not, we figured out that's not sufficient, especially since we found that these round trip tests and these other things are actually succeeding. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say postcard to standard vec Bloom .len. And then we should we need to unwrap that. It just means that our empty files are going to be bigger. Now we could special case that. I don't think this is a counting Bloom filter, so it doesn't keep track of how many items it has inserted. Let's look at the docs real quick. Yeah. Fast Bloom. marks, yada, yada, yada. We're already convinced. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't count how many have been inserted. So, so we can't really. Maybe we could put a special case in the writer that says if you didn't write any keys, then don't write the bloom filter. But I honestly don't know that that's valuable, right? Um, we are saving almost a kilobyte if we do that. But again, I don't think it has that much value. We're still under the page size of a block size of most disks. So yeah, it's not going to make that much difference. Okay, so I want to see, and let's maybe see if we can pare down any unused features from Serday. Because yeah, note that one thing to know about cargo features, crate features, is that they are additive. So even if you aren't specifically using a feature, if something that you uses that feature, it'll be enabled. And this can cause severe code bloat. So what I'm doing here is I'm just saying, Serday, turn off your default features, and then Postcard can turn them back on with what it needs, and that will make sure that we don't include things in this ginormous crate that we don't need. So let's do cargo build again. Their empty file still failing. What failed this time? Interesting. Okay, that is different than what I expected. What is that off by? That's off by 5 bytes. Note that we just turned off Serday default features. So what I would love to see, something that analyzes what features are turned on. And I want to say it's like cargo tree. Is that it? No. Here's the thing, though. We are not using Serday directly. We're using Postcard. So we can actually remove this from our dependencies and rely on Postcard to do the right thing. It still failed. We're going to have to figure out what's wrong there. Now it's off by 1 byte. That's interesting. Yeah, okay, so we don't need to explicitly say we use Serday, we use Postcard. We turn on, this is the other thing, is fast bloom. Let's look at cargo tree again. Fast bloom depends on Serday, right? SIP-hat, and it injects Serday into the other things that use it. I might need to audit. Derive More is a great crate, by the way. Super high utility. but we're only using this is variant. I might manually implement those and remove that later. Okay, so this depends on Saturday. Postcard depends on Saturday. Right. So, I'm going to say cargo, analyze, enabled features. Let's see if we can find something about that. Features. Right. Okay, it looks, YouTube said chat dropped. I hope my stream did not drop on you. Hope you're all still here. Okay, so this is just about when you add something, enable or disable certain features. There are mutually exclusive features. Okay, cargo tree -e features. This is what we want. Okay, so let's go way up to the top. Whew. Okay, so we have the default features. Ignore derive more. We're going down. Okay, fast bloom, we have feature default, which includes get random and rand. And Saturday has feature default in fast bloom, which derive is a feature of including this dependency. It depends on that default feature of Saturday. And then we have standard. Okay. Okay, and then there's the... So this is also saying this derive feature in FastBloom's dependency graph enables this other feature down in Saturday. Okay, then zip hasher and wide. Okay. So the Saturday feature on FastBloom. Interestingly, sorry, for a second there, what I want to do is say this is the default feature on FastBloom and what everything that it enables. Okay. Right, so postcard, if we say feature use standard, it enables derive, which we've already enabled somewhere else. I believe that's what the star means. And enables the standard feature. And then this also enables the postcard feature alloc, which modifies this and enables this Saturday feature and so forth. So we don't care about dev dependencies right now. So I don't know that we can get this any tighter necessarily. I might see if we can remove this in a bit, but let's figure out what's going on with that test. I think that's probably the best way forward. And my chat is flapping. How is my stream? I have not dropped any frames, so I don't know what's going on with chat. Hopefully it's not a serious thing. Yeah, okay. It on my side it keeps saying disconnected, reconnected. It's flapping. Okay, so the interesting thing here is this is not consistent. Now, that may be not important. And this, if I had to guess, this has to do with variant encoding. When something is all zeros, it probably comes out as 1 byte. However, you'll remember, hopefully, and I closed it here. Yeah, let's go back to the repository. That the Bloom filter has a hasher in it. And this hasher is default hasher, which comes from this crate. So its default hasher, it has some internal state. And I think that that internal state is what is causing the variance in the size of this encoded thing. So cloned build hasher, and it includes random default hasher. That is the type there that's using default hasher. Now we could pick 16 bytes to always seed the hasher with. That might be a little bit bad. Yeah. This is just seeding with random bytes. So okay. So I think that that's where the contents of our empty file are going wrong. And possibly what we need to do is, rather than be concerned about the length of it, which is where this is failing, right? Line 365. We just get rid of this assertion. Unfortunately, that means that what we're going to do here is, rather than this, we're going to let's see if there's something on slice that we can just get the last n entries. Ah, Nightly. Nightly APIs. I wish you would not show up in the docs. Okay. Teasing me, man. Okay. So we need to get the length. And here, this assertion can no longer. What we can say is we know there's no assert GT. So we're just going to say we know it needs to be at least 26 bytes. That's all of the static bytes that we have, right? That's sufficient. So what I'm going to do is say we're going to slice from contents.len -8 to the end. Contents. And that should give us this. The we should also be able to get a bloom filter out of it. And I think that that's probably what the assertion should be here, right? So let's do not assert equal, but let's do bloomlen. And we're going to have to do that E32 from BE bytes. And we're going to have to do this jazz, which is contents.len -12, right? Excuse me. Right, so we're doing the 4 bytes before the root position. And then we're going to do dot try into dot unwrap. And right. Okay. What's wrong there? Okay, so now we have the bloom length. So what we're going to do now is let's extract the raw bloom filter. What I'm trying to go for here is make sure that it still round trips into a bloom filter, right? And maybe we're covering that with tree from file, but I still feel like this low level assertion is kind of useful. Okay, so we're going to now slice. So we're going to do contents.len -12 minus bloomlen as usize. So this should be, right? Now it's just complaining I didn't use that. That's fine. Okay, so then we're going to do postcard from bytes. We're just going to ignore this. From bytes, raw bloom. And we're going to unwrap that. Okay, so we need to do bloom filter. Right, so this is just checking, did we round trip it? We don't care about what size it is, other than we can slice the size. We can get the size, and then we can slice the encoded thing out and then reconstitute it. That's what we care about. Okay. So now let's run this test. And let's do, that's writer tests empty file. I think I need a dash dash in there. Okay, so it worked this time. Let's run all tests and make sure I didn't break anything. This is a little bit contrived, I feel. But this does let us distance ourselves from the actual length and the variability that will happen because these bloom filters are seeded with random numbers. Yeah, I think that's a good choice for now. We have this to do: fix block from start to accept empty blocks. Well, let's go look over here. Let's find block from start. Oh yeah, this is gonna blow up. So what we could do potentially, in our test there, is more a test for this code than it is for the writer. We probably need some kind of check around that. But like if this file has an empty block, then if this block length is 0, yeah, I don't remember whether that includes the level or not. I think it does not. Okay, this is a good place to make a commit. Okay, let's use lazy git today. I'm feeling it. I want to see what's changed in the cargo lock. So it got rid of Bumpalo. I have no idea what that was being used for. Interesting. And then there's some things. Who know what the dependencies are there? Note JAssist and wasm bindgen are gone. That's interesting. As a dependency of something. I don't know why that must have been get random. Okay, so now we have Saturday derive. Right, and it upgraded some stuff. Okay, that's actually good. We removed some dependencies by changing this and paring it down, what it included. So, okay, good stuff. So we got that error update. We drastically simplified encoding the bloom filter and got rid of our hack. And then we fixed the tests. Okay. So we are in session 16. Use postcard to encode bloom filters for successful round trip. Okay. Let's push that. All right, so we have another hour. We have some options of some things we can do. Here's this to do. Remember, it was in the code as well. We could fix this. And essentially, we'll do the same as that empty file test and with the writer. And then we'll make sure that you can get the root block. That's basically what the contents of that test would be. And have it not panic. So why don't we do that? And then maybe we'll start looking at recovery because the recovery here is pretty interesting. We need to look at what are the files that exist. And this would all be in the level. So when we start up the level struct and it's looking at the files that are on disk and, open them for reads potentially, then it should look at what is the state there. It should throw out an incomplete merge file. And then if there's an M file, it needs to be moved into the right spot. The M was a bit that we took where after a merge is complete, it will try to, but that file is not big enough to be promoted to the next level. It will find a new spot for it. Okay. But this is a fairly small task. I think that we can get done pretty quickly. So let's look, are there tests down here at the bottom? There are not tests in this file. Ooh, first one. Okay, so this is going to block from start accepts empty blocks. And I'm going to pop this out to the right so that we can look at what this one does. And actually, it's pretty simple. So we're going to use superstar. And we're going to use create writer, because we need that. Okay, so let's do let dir is tempter, and I need to import that. Yep, okay. Tempter unwrap. So that's, we're going to write our file. Let data is dir as ref join test.data. And we're going to make a writer. And then we're going to close that writer. Okay, and now we're ignoring all this stuff that we did in the other test, but we're just going to jump down here to the bottom and make sure that we can get a tree. And then now that we have the tree, let's get the root block. This should crash. This should panic. Mark it with test. Here. And that needs to be close, unwrap. Okay, so what we're doing here is saying, you know, the writer will write empty blocks if there's no data in the file. We need to be able to detect that correctly. And I think what's going to happen here is it's going to panic. So let's cargo test. Yep, it failed. It'll be interesting to see how it fails. So block entries did not start with tag in. Yeah, this is the issue that we have up in here. So now that we've got that, hi Isaac, welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming. I'm doing pretty well today. If you just joined, we've got our Bloom filter problem fixed from last time. We're actually serializing to disk and deserializing correctly, so that's good. And now I'm fixing a long-standing bug, which is block from start. Yeah. Okay. So what we need to do I think the answer here is if block len is greater than 0. No, I'm sorry. Okay, my apologies. My cat is having an asthma attack. I'll be right back. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so I think we need kind of multiple options here. So let's just do if block len. I kind of want this to be, let's actually just return this. The only case where we're going to have an empty block is if level is 0. So we can say if block len is 0, then we have a kind of an edge case, and I want to return early. I think that this is fine. The challenge is, though, if we now, we'll need to look at the ways that we iterate over this. So this may be bigger than compression none and file. This will solve the immediate panic. What I'm expecting based on our empty file test is that we have these 6 bytes and there's nothing else. But we're going to need to guard against using that root block incorrectly. So I am concerned about this. But I think it's probably okay to go forward. Note that we don't need to change this because there is that 4-byte padding at the end. So even if we read 8 bytes and get 2 bytes of padding, the block line and the level will still be there. Thanks, Sammy. Good. Hope to see you next week. Thanks for coming. Okay. So yeah, this is fine. Honestly, even with reading those pad bytes at the head of the trailer, so to speak, compression would still be 0, and that would deserialize as none, which is fine. Let's move that up. I think that's still safe, even if block len is 0. It's just that we are not going to get the tag end byte. So now the question becomes, what happens if you try to create an entries iterator over this block? So let's run that test and see if this resolves that particular thing. Okay, so all of our tests passed. So now we can see maybe let's go up here to block. Right. Okay. So I think this is going to be safe, because what are we doing here? This is the borrowed one. We also have the owned one, which is fine. This is saying start at 8 bytes. But if our start is at a particular place and our length is 0, this is going to be less than end, or less than start. End is going to be less than start. So if we go to the entry iterator, so if start is greater than or equal to end, we'll always return none. I think this is safe. So let's go ahead and add to this test. Let's do assert EQ, like empty vec, or we'll just do this. Let's say or let's do this. Let's say assert root block entries, and this is an iterator. There's no isEmpty on iterator, so we'll say assert EQ. So the count of the entries should still be 0. That's a good safety check. And it seems to be fine. So, past self did good. That's good. Good deal. Okay. So we just fixed some things. This is, don't need lazy git for this because it's just one file. Block. Let's go ahead and remove that from our to-do file since that is done. Okay, session 16, block from start correctly handles empty blocks. Okay. And I needed to remove that from here, right? And let's just amend that commit because I haven't pushed yet. Okay, so that's good. And what else could we do today potentially? We got about 45 minutes left in the plan. So we could look at file recovery. We could do some small refactors, maybe break out the format file. That might be a good place. Yeah, I think this format file is kind of big. So let's break it up. I think I would like to put these constants somewhere. Well, these are like entry tags and whatnot. Oh, let's just make const, or we can make them crate level. That's actually not that bad of an idea. Let's move. These are not public, right? And there's going to be a lot of complaints now. So we're going to use super star. Yeah, now it's complaining about the other files that use that. So let's look for what uses the magic constant. Right, so here we could say this is create magic right? We don't need to import it necessarily. Where else uses that? It's there. Okay, so writer can use crate. Okay, so we're getting those constants in there. Honestly, we can use REST Analyzer to fix this. So format, we need to, here, we're going to use crate magic tag end, right? What else is broken? So my cat is not having a good afternoon, apparently. Okay, so let's just import all those things. We need tag deleted, tag kb data, tag poslen. All right, we're down to 2 errors. Tag deleted 2. Okay, so this is just about encoding and decoding. You know, we're going to have to break this up even more in a minute, so I think that's it. Okay, so no issues there. Okay, so we've got maybe what I'll do is I'll make a new folder. Because these refer to each other a lot. And it's kind of like the writer uses some of this, but also it's coming from the other direction. So I don't know if maybe we rename this file reader. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's see if we can't. Let's just make tree.rs. I don't really like that name, but it's fine. Yeah, okay, we're in alphabetical order still. Okay, so let's move tree over there and then see what breaks. Honestly, it's the easiest way to do it. So here's tree in all of its implementation. And its iterator. Okay, so we're going to cut that out and we're going to put it over here. I actually wonder if there was a way. There might be a code assist on this. Okay, so on tree, we're going to need and we will use crate format trailer. And we'll eventually move that, of course. Right, so here's a bit where we need to pull in these other traits. Okay, so we're not using error kind. And we're going to use crate. We need magic. Or the other constants we use in here. I think that's it. And we need to use create error star because we need our error type and our result type. Okay, so now we need to start importing, and hopefully it won't combine these because I'm going to need to move them to separate files. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so this is, the problem is that this is no longer public. We need entry as well. Okay, so I think we'll fix that when we move block to its own file. Right, and we'll be making these things public again. I know I'd used a lot of pub crate in here, but we can just make them plain public because these modules are not exported. Right, and we were taking advantage of the fact that like basically everything in a everything in the same module is public to that module. Okay, so let's see if there's a code assist. There is not. Hey, path is no longer used in here. Cool. Okay, so let's make a trailer file. We'll just work our way down here and fix things. And let's move the trailer over there. Okay, and that's actually not going to be very much. Okay. Put that in here. We need to expose that. Okay. And this is going to use this, which is no longer used in this file. Okay. And yeah, Rust Analyzer is very unhappy right now because I'm just moving things around. It's okay. We'll get there. Okay, magic is no longer used in this file. Okay. Right, now over here, this is going to be in trailer, right? Okay, we're getting there. So now we've got compression. Let's make a new file for that. The nice thing about what I'm trying to do now is just like set us up to be able to do bigger things in the future. So for example, if we actually implement compression, that would be nice to be able to implement some stuff that's independent of the rest of the crate. So let's copy that out. And we will mod compression. Yeah, thank you for ordering that for me, Rust Analyzer. Very nice. And this needs to use create error. Star. Yeah, because we need this and we need that. Okay. Let's save that. And this needs to use now block is in here. Honestly, I was going to fix this, but let's just let's move block to a new file. And that might be, most of this is block, is it not? Oh, we've got entry. Okay. So let's move block to a new file. Okay. This does mean as we go forward, we're going to have to let me just copy these in there. We're going to have to probably, yeah, that's not used. We're gonna have to jump around a lot more, you know. And create compression. Let's see what else is broken in here. Okay, and now we need to get its iterators out. So let's go ahead and make a file for entry. This is going to have less. Yeah, so we can get rid of derive more here in a minute if we want to. Let's scroll down and get everything related to entry except the iterators. Yeah. So move that here. And I'm going to copy all this again. I don't recall what is needed in here. We need to add it. Sorry, this is very mechanical, not very interesting. But we're getting there. Okay, now we're going to, these iterators belong to block. So let's move, and this test is all about block. So let's move that over to block, and then that's the end, right? Okay, so now it's just, we need to resolve, there's nothing in here. We can get rid of this module, and we're going to delete that. And now let's resolve the compilation errors. And we'll start up at the top. Okay, so this test we need to use create tree, right? And then that satisfies this test. Okay. One down, a bunch to go. We're in the home stretch, folks. Okay, so this is, note that you can, if it's easy, you can do in Z, you can use the edit in the mini buffer. So that fixes that. We don't need these imports in entry. Okay. There is no crate format here in level. So let's determine what we need in level. So let's remove that and see what the errors are. Okay. So we need crate tree. Anything else? I think we're fine in there. Okay, go back up to the top. Okay, so block, cannot find entry in this scope. Use crate entry. Okay, level, yes, so it's needing that. Can you expand up, please? Or down? Let's just jump over there. Right, entry is not resolved, so okay. So this is no longer in format. Merger needs, so owned, this is all in tree, should be. Okay, so this test needs entry, and use crate tree. Okay, nursery, this is entry. Okay, and trailer, Okay, so this needs to import our crate error types. Okay, whittling it down. Okay, so this is block. Remember, we broke that out earlier, so it'd be easier to fix. Okay. And now these need to be public. Right, so we need to fix two things here. We need to fix this block, this method, or this constructor rather. This needs to be pub. Now that we're not exposing this outside our crate, so it can just be pub. You can't get to this type. And we need this as well to be pub. Okay. And now we need these need to be pub as well. And that's fine. It's just data. We have some. I don't mind someone directly accessing that inside this crate. Okay. So now we need. Tree needs owned entry iterator. That solves that issue, and entry iterator. Okay. Now writer, this is going to have to be broken out. So let's do compression. And I just lost it. Yeah, so here, let's just go to writer. We need use crate entry. Use crate trailer. Whew, down to 1. Okay, so this, we just need to do tree. And we have no more errors. It just didn't clear out that buffer. Okay, no problems. Woohoo! Let's run the tests. This will also give us an opportunity to think about what additional tests we can make for very specific purposes. And that's a good thing. Okay, so we did a big change there. So let's add source, and we're going to say this is session 16 still. Break apart. Let's see. Yeah, format was deleted. Okay. Into more fine-grained files. Okay. Now, like, normally I wouldn't care, but it was starting to get really painful to try to find the thing I wanted to find inside that big file, which was just format. That was originally there because we were trying to read the files produced by Erlang. We don't care about that anymore. So we more care about the long-term maintainability of this code. And yeah, and I think the last thing let's do, because it's pretty short and we can get rid of a dependency. So let's look for where are we using derive more in here, and I think we're only using it in this one spot. Yeah, so it's on entry, so we can remove this is variant, That's going to break something. So let's go ahead and make so we want to, I think it's like that. And this is all it generates. Honestly, before we do that, let's do cargo expand. So expand entry. Let's see if I did that right. Yeah, it's not going to print out very nicely, but because of my terminal settings. So what you see here is that this is the automatically derived stuff for entry, and let's just copy it out, and we'll put it in here, and then we can get rid of that crate because it doesn't do anything for us besides that one thing. Okay, we can remove that, and let's join these two things together. What's the problem here? Oh, right, because I haven't removed this derive. Well, Clippy, can you fix it for me? Yes, you can. Note that it's complaining there because that's fully expanded. I imagine that derive more actually writes this matches macro instead. Okay, so now we can remove derive more. Let's clear it up. Let's build. Okay, run test again. And we just removed a dependency. I do like that derive more crate a lot, and if there were more places we were using its macros, I would take advantage of it, but we can prune that for now. Remove derive more crate from dependencies. Okay. All right. So I think this might be a good place to stop. Before we do, though, let's think about what we want to do next time and look at things that we could improve. Maybe let's search the project for to-do comments. Yeah, one thing we don't have is our entry iterators don't return results of entries. That is something that we could do. This is interesting. Should we handle additional commands immediately in a recursive fashion? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe that's not so much of an issue right now. Okay. What other to-dos could be in here? Okay, we have some stuff related to incremental merge. We probably need to handle if self level is greater than max level. Yeah. Does this value make sense? I don't know. Let's. Okay. There are some features we don't have of HanoiDB. We don't have full database folds or scans. That's a big feature. That'll probably be multiple weeks. Are we updating the bloom filter here? We should be. Let's see. Are we doing that somewhere else? Right, we're doing that up here. So we can remove this to do comment. It's already handled. Because we do it up here. This is maybe not the right place to do it, but it's okay. All right, what other to-dos do we have? Right, so this is about writing. We'll have to address this when we do compression. Interestingly, it's probably okay to it's probably okay to be allocating that's not what this is though. Okay, that's something that we can address next time. I'm getting the sense that what we should do next time is compression. I think that would be really fun. And then we can test the different kinds of compression. We can add the option to the database when you instantiate it. That'll be a really good thing to do next time. So we've kind of built the scaffolding for it, but haven't implemented it at all. There's a can we make this clear? I think we looked at this previously. Maybe what would be good here instead is to write some explanatory comments. And then move on. So let's write a long, excuse me, a long description here of what's going on in this method, because it's not clear. Okay, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a block to insert an entry into at this particular level. Okay, so the goal of this is get a block struct. This is not the same as the create block, but maybe we can rename that later. That is at the given level, so that we can add an entry to it. Okay, so first case, if there are no blocks, we in the writer we add a new one. If there are blocks, we check that the level of the last 1 is the same as the level that we are requesting. Because of the order of inserts, either the block at the end of the list of pending blocks is the same level, or it's at a greater level than the requested one. This means that we need to add interior nodes until we reach of higher levels. This is not great. Okay. Okay, if there are blocks, if there are pending blocks, either the block, okay, so if there are pending blocks, we check that the level of the last one is the same as the level that we are requesting. Because of the order of inserts, either the block at the end of the list of the pending blocks is the same level, or it is at a greater level than the requested one. This means we need to add interior block, so blocks of higher levels of here, let's say decreasing levels until we reach the requested level. That's this. So I kind of want to, let's move these comments inside here. Yeah, because I want to make sure there's nothing wrong with this code. This code is correct from my perspective. But I want to make sure that next time I come back to this, I go, what the heck is this wild code, right? Why are we doing unwraps here? And then the invariant here is we either found a block of the level given, or we inserted it. So that's why there's this unwrap here. This unwrap, we kind of need to qualify. We already know there is at least one block in the pending list. That's why we're able to unwrap here. This invariant, this is why we're panicking here. I'm going to say won't panic. It's not really an invariant. Let's say won't panic here as well. And then I'm going to say won't panic. We just inserted a new block into the pending list. Okay. That feels a lot better. We can get rid of that to do. Okay. Let's redo this search. Okay, so I think that this to do we don't need because we're going to do that next time. Let's look at this one. Right, this is about returning results of entries rather than entries. Um, I think in the other places we're reading this, yeah, it's maybe not so important. The issue, hmm, the issue might more be it should be result the return of, so this, it already is a result, right? So maybe we should construct, and then if you can't seek to the start when you construct it, then we return an error. Otherwise it's okay to swallow it. But yeah, there's a little bit of a defensive code in here that I'm not particularly happy with. It is working. Okay, so I don't think this to do is especially important right now. Um, let's put it in here and say okay. So that's more of a question for later. Let's look at what's going on here in level. So merge. Yeah, I'm not going to address these to-dos right now. I don't think. Let's look at this test and see if we can reason about, does the number of steps make sense? I think that's the last thing that we should do today, and then we'll call it, and we'll do compression next time. Should be really good. Okay, so this is a complete incremental merge, which returns complete and consumes the merger. So we're merging two files. So we've written an A file with the key A in it, and the B file with the key B in it. And then we create a merger from those two files, thinking that we're at level 10. We do some incremental merge steps, and it should be complete. What is interesting here is, does this steps value actually... Okay, so that's what this is asking. Does the steps return from the merger make sense? So let's go to that. Okay, so this is about it's adding one to the end. I honestly think that's more, it took two steps. But it did attempt to read from both of those files again. Honestly, I think that this should be I. But we start from 0. Maybe that's why the I plus 1. I think that this is actually not that important until we start really thinking deeply about the merge accounting logic, and if we need to fix anything there. So I don't think we need to address this right now. Let's instead go to the to-do and say, this is not a helpful comment. Let's say review, merge, incremental merge, accounting logic to see if the steps make sense. The counted and propagated steps make sense. Okay, and then I think that these I kind of want to leave in there. Some of these to-dos are design issues, right? But we've significantly reduced the number of them in here. Okay. Miss anything? Okay. So this is our last commit of today. And I'll let you go and we'll do compression next time. So link on the repo README doesn't work? All right, I'll have a look at that really quick. I'll make it fully qualified. Thank you for calling out, Marcello. Let's do that. Okay, and then, you know, we will fill this out later. Our goal right now is not to make this production ready by any means. So I'm not so concerned about filling out the documentation here, but eventually we'll be able to use it for something, and that could be interesting. So we're going to do some, this is to do cleanups and documentation. Okay. And we're pushed to main. So thank you for calling that out, Marcello. Hopefully it'll be fixed on main right now. I think that about does it for today. We'll come back next time. We'll do compression, which should be really interesting. We'll be able to do some stuff with cargo features, like being able to turn on and off particular types of compression. And we will implement compressors, and then we'll be able to route that through all of our stuff. It should be super good. There are going to be challenges with the incremental iterating over the file. They have to iterate through the compressor as a stream. So yeah, that'll be interesting. We might have to do some type level shenanigans or something. So good stuff. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you next week.